YouTube world? My name is Nicholas Montez, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Nicholas Montez. Welcome back to another YouTube channel video, everybody. I'm so excited to have y'all back here together again. And in today's video, we're going to be doing a very special video as we're doing my updated movie collection video. And I'm hoping I can download this in one big thing, because last year I had to split it up into like 4 parts of the different eras of films. But hopefully I can download it all in one place. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started doing this. And the way I'm doing this, I'm going to be doing it by eras. So the first era we'll be doing is the 1980s. So let's go ahead and get started with that, shall we? Okay, so I think the 1980s and the 2020s are going to be the shortest ones of them, because I don't own many of them. So we're just going to go through the 80s real quick. So the first movie I have here is, and just to be clear here, some of these movies don't have cases. I can't find them. I had a pink bag full of movies, and some of them still work, so we still watch them. But the first movie I have here is The Secret of NIMH. I have no idea what this movie is, but it looks like something interesting, I guess. Next up is a movie with a case, Follow That Bird, a Sesame Street film that came out back in the 1980s. Personally, I love this movie. It's just a classic Sesame Street film. All the characters get great moments. Big Bird is an adorable character, and it's just it also just feels like a movie, as it doesn't feel like you just took the characters of a TV show and just put them in a movie. Like, that's not what this is. This is an actual movie, as you make the street look like an actual movie street, not like a TV show street. So that was cool. And also the songs were great as well. And then the final here for the 1980s is Critters. Once again, this is a film that I have heard about, and I think that this movie made a cameo in I think this movie made a cameo in Beavis and Butthead Do the Universe. I'm not exactly sure, I don't remember. All I know is I saw it for a poster for it once in a movie recently, so that's kind of why I'm talking about it. But that's pretty much every movie I own from the 1980s. Now let's talk about the 1990s movies. And we're talking about the 1990s now, and so we're gonna get hit on here. And the first couple of movies I have is one DVD with no case. Once again, both of the Addams Family movies. I watched these movies last fall, and they're pretty enjoyable films. None of them are great in my opinion, but I enjoy them a good bit. I like the second one a little bit more, just because the first one just kind of does a lot, and it doesn't really feel like a complete movie. But overall, fun times. Then we got The Lion King, of course, one of my absolute favorite Disney movies of all time. It is an absolute classic. The animation, the music, the story, the characters, everything about this movie is absolutely perfect. This is basically my favorite animated film of all time, and it's also very simple. The theme in here is awesome. This movie is just amazing from beginning to end. Next up on here, we got Rudyard Kipling's The Jungle Book, the film from 1994. When I bought this, I was stupid, because if you don't remember, we had a proper remake of The Jungle Book back in 2016, and this was before it ever came out, and I was like, I'm so excited for this movie, I want to watch it so bad, I need to buy it on DVD. So I saw this, and I'm like, that's Jungle Book, let's get Jungle Book. But I didn't realize it was not the right version of The Jungle Book. So I'm like, well, why is it showing Africa Express, Pets to the Rescue? Why is it showing all these movies? I want to see the movie. I want to see 2016 Jungle Book. So I was dumb buying this movie, but at the same time, this movie is not that bad. It is pretty good. It still has some fun stuff. I haven't rewatched it in a long time, so that probably tells you why I can't say too much about it. But it's still a good movie. It's still an underappreciated Disney remake. Then we got Balto. This is actually a movie I used to watch a lot when I used to watch Sprout, because they would have these little times where they would put on little movies, and this would be one of those movies that I would watch almost all the time. And I just think it was a pretty cool story about a wolf that went across the entire world to get medicine for kids. Obviously, the story is fine, but what makes the movie so good is that the characters are actually likable. You actually care about this wolf and what he's doing, and the relationship with the dog with the dog he has, and even Steel, played by Jim Cummings, was pretty cool. And the fact that you actually have Phil Collins playing like this geese or something, or this goose, pretty fun. So yeah, it's a pretty fun movie, and I have a good time with it. It's not great, but it is pretty fun. Next one on here is Matilda, another movie I don't have a case before, but this movie is possibly my favorite film of 1996. I mean, this movie is just absolutely amazing from beginning to end. The idea of this girl, like, the movie is just so heartwarming, but at the same time, there are just scenes in it where you're like, you hate these characters. Like, the characters it knows what characters you're supposed to hate and what characters you're supposed to love. And I love that. I love stories like that. And it just tells the story in such a creative way. Likewise, this is the song that got me into that song where it was like, on the way, which every time I hear it, I'm like, that's the Ice Age song. So, great movie, and absolutely love it. Next up, we got Beauty and the Beast, Belle's Magical World. I got this movie. Here's the thing. I actually got this movie from Goodwill, like a long time ago. I got this movie from Goodwill, and to be honest with you, I watched parts of this movie, and if I'm being honest, this movie just doesn't feel like a movie. It feels more like it feels more like a bunch of Beauty and the Beast. It feels like a Beauty and the Beast TV show, except what if these episodes were just on DVD? Like, that's what it feels like to me. So I didn't really watch the rest of it. I probably haven't finished it. I mean, it is on Disney Plus too, so I'm not really going to be watching this movie anytime soon. Alright, next up we got The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride. Yes, I own this movie, and that's because I love The Lion King, so I had to get this, and I actually got this for Christmas one time. And I think that this movie is pretty good. It's not better than the original. Nothing can top the original Lion King. But I still think it's a pretty good film. It does a lot of interesting stuff with it. The way that they actually take the premise and bring it all back to the origins of Scar's little family with Zira and his adopted son, Kovu. Like, they don't want to say that he's Scar's son because they don't want to make it seem like it's Alabama stuff going on in the Pride Lands, because Kiara and Kovu start dating at the end. But overall, I think the movie is good. It is like Romeo and Juliet, and that's kind of the cool thing about it, is that it kind of does something familiar that you kind of like. And I would probably say it's the best version of the Romeo and Juliet story, because I actually care about it, and I actually do like it. Then we got Tarzan, one of the really underappreciated Disney films, that the animation is just simply gorgeous from every shot that it's doing. All the characters are likable. The music from Phil Collins is amazing. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. And then likewise, even the little songs in here are amazing, especially with the one where they break the human stuff in the camp. All that was great. So I really like Tarzan. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Tarzan. Then the second to last film on here will be Stuart Little. I personally just really enjoy this movie. It's just heartwarming. The score is amazing. Michael J. Fox works as this Stuart Little character. Even Nathan Lane as Snowbell. The whole cast is great. The look of New York just looks great. Everything about this movie is really good. I don't really have any specific issues with the film. So that's pretty much it. And then the final film for the 1990s will be Elmo and Grouchland, another Sesame Street film that I own. And this is just another pretty interesting film where the focus is on Elmo. The music is great. Elmo is a likable character, and also an adorable character, so you like him on this adventure. The only problem is, I don't understand why you have to choose Grouchland to go to out of all places. Like, you could have just stayed on Sesame Street, like, seriously? And they don't really give many characters many moments to shine. Like, sure, you give that moment to Super Grover, but, like, he doesn't really get anything else. But overall, still really enjoyed it. And that is it for the 1990s. Now let's talk about the 2000s. Alright, so now we are on the 2000s, and we're gonna start off, and we have a lot more films to talk about. We have like 29 movies in this era to talk about, so let's just go already get started. So the first movie here, Buzz Lightyear of Starkman, another movie that has no case, as, I actually enjoy this movie. I talked about it recently in my Toy Story ranking when Lightyear came out, and, it definitely does not copy the stuff that Buzz Lightyear is in the actual Toy Story films, but it's a fun adventure for Buzz Lightyear. Let me get a water break. Alright. Next movie we have on here is another movie that I knew I had a case for, I just can't find it. Monsters, Inc., a Pixar film that I just absolutely love. It's just one of the most hilarious. The premise is great, the characters are great, and it's also emotional at the end, especially with the music, so this movie's great. Next up we got Ice Age 2002, a pretty solid movie about about a mammoth, a sloth, and a saber-toothed tiger, basically returning a baby back to its herd while trying to get through the Ice Age. It's a fun little premise, but it also is kind of emotional when you get to the core with Manny and stuff. Next up, a movie that I absolutely love, Spider-Man. This is just one of the absolute most beloved comic book films of all time, as this was like the start of when comic book movies started to become a thing, like they started to become good. And you really think about it, all the other movies, they were just fine, they were cheesy, they were okay. Sam Raimi knew how to do a superhero film right with the, and what makes the movie so good is that the story is just great. Like all these other movies, they're just memorable because of the characters and all that. This movie is memorable because of the way the story was told, and also some of the characters are great, the music's great, the villain is great, the origin story of this character is great. So overall, the movie is just great all around. Then we got Lilo and Stitch, a film I haven't opened, and I got I got this movie back in 2018, so I haven't opened it since then, but because, I could go on Disney Plus and watch it, but at the same time, it's still a really good movie. I love that it's both kind of like a Men in Black film, an E.T. film, but also a tribute to Elvis music. Just all in all, just a really good, enjoyable Disney film that I thoroughly enjoyed. Then we got Stuart Little 2. I think that this movie just does everything better about the original film and just takes it to new heights. As you have Stuart Little flying on a plane, you also have him making a new friend in Margalo. You introduce this Falcon character played by James Woods. All in all, just a great film and a great sequel. Next up, we got 8 Mile, the Eminem rap film that basically kind of deals with his life and his life on the 8 Mile. I actually enjoyed this movie. The music with Eminem is great. The drama when you get into it is really good. And it's tragic. And you're just going through the story with Eminem's character, and I just really enjoyed it, surprisingly. Then we got Finding Nemo. Just probably my favorite Pixar movie of all time. Really, I think it's just absolutely phenomenal. Like, the animation is great, the characters are great, the story is amazing, and it's also just one of the most rewatchable films of all time. So, I love Finding Nemo. Then we got 2003 Hulk. This is a movie that's not exactly as loved as all the other movies, but I actually enjoyed it a good bit. It's not great, but it's enjoyable. The Hulk action is great, so I still do enjoy the film. Next up on here, we got Dumb and Dumberer When Harry Met Lloyd. I have never watched any of the Dumb and Dumber movies, so I'm just gonna say I have it now, so not too much to say about it. Next movie on here is Mean Girls. I personally just absolutely love this movie. It's just one of the absolute great high school movies of all time, and honestly, this is so relatable because something like this can happen in middle school as well, because there's been a lot of drama happening. And that's why you should never reveal your secrets online, of your drama stuff online. unless you don't say their names. That's one thing. Then we got Garfield, the movie. I personally just really enjoy this movie. Bill Murray as a talking cat is funny. It's just hilarious, and every time I watch it, I get a good laugh. Next up, we got Spider-Man 2. This is a movie that I just think, at first I was like, I don't rewatch this movie as much, but like, I need to rewatch it more because this movie is awesome. As it basically deals with what Peter Parker goes through in trying to be Peter Parker, but also trying to be Spider-Man, and how is that difficult for him. And I just think it deals with that in such a fantastic way. And I love it the way so much. And the music, once again, the score from not Hans Zimmer, that's a different movie with Amazing Spider-Man, with Danny Elfman's score. Sam Raimi's direction is great, and then the villain is also great with Alfred Molina's Doc Ock. So I loved Spider-Man 2. The only thing I didn't like about it was when he loses his powers and stuff. All in all, great movie. Then we got a 2-pack collection of both Shark Tale as well as Flushed Away. Technically, I'm not supposed to talk about Flushed Away until we get on later in this video, but whatever. But Shark Tale, I'm gonna talk about both of them in this right now. Shark Tale, I think, is pretty enjoyable. I would actually watch Shark Tale way more than Flushed Away, but Flushed Away is actually the better movie, as it has clever jokes. It actually tells a better story. But at the same time, none of these films are great, in my opinion, but they are pretty rewatchable films. Next up, we got Stuart Little 3, Call of the Wild. I enjoyed this movie. I just don't understand why you had to make this movie literally animated. Like, I feel like because you could do big things with the last film, I feel like you could do something huge and expansive with this film and bringing a live-action beast to it, but they didn't decide to do that. But I still kind of enjoyed it, but not really. Next up, we got Madagascar. One of the funniest DreamWorks movies out there. It's hilarious. It's all the characters, like the fact that you actually have, this is like before Chris Rock and Jada Pinkett Smith had something going on. So it's a good thing that Oscar the Fish was not in here. And then it's just hilarious with all the characters. The story is simple. And to be honest with you, it doesn't really make sense of why you had to make all these movies a sequel. But overall, it's an enjoyable film. Alright, next up... Oh, hang on. Next up, we got Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the remake of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I have never seen this movie, so that's all I can really say about it. So I just own Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And then we have Tristan plus Isolde full screen. Once again, I have not seen this movie, so I can't really talk about it. Next up, we got Spider-Man 3, a absolute disappointment of Spider-Man, as it basically just kind of ruins almost everything of this whole franchise. The only good thing about this movie is the action sequences still pop, and the relationship between Harry and Peter is still there. The stuff with the symbiote and Sandman, I never really cared for. Like, I like the stuff they do with Sandman, it's just, why does he have to turn bad and team up with Venom at the end, just so you can have this big epic final battle? But overall, the stuff with Harry when he died, I thought was pretty satisfying. Then we got a Pixar film, Ratatouille. I just think that this film is absolutely amazing. The twist of a rat learning how to cook by pulling a man's hair is just absolutely bonkers to me. But they did it in such a masterful way, and I love it so much. Then we got my personal favorite Christmas movie, Elmo's Christmas Countdown. This movie just does everything I want from a Christmas movie, where it combines Christmas and Sesame Street both together, and it just creates something extraordinary. As you have you have Ben Stiller the elf as Stiller the elf, as he's looking for these boxes that were trying to count down to Christmas, and the guest appearances in here with Jamie Foxx, Alicia Keys, Kevin James as Santa Claus. I mean, all the guest appearances in here are amazing. So I just really love this movie as a whole. Next up, we got Sugar, a film from the directors of the movie Captain Marvel, Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden's, one of Ryan Fleck and Anna Boden's first films. And I just think this movie is great about a guy from the Dominican Republic coming to play basketball not basketball, baseball. And it's just an inspiring story. The baseball sequences work, and as he's going into America, it's just a pretty cool story. Next up, we got Kung Fu Panda, a film that for me I absolutely love from beginning to end. It's just the animation is great, the characters are great, the action is badass. The movie overall is just a great movie. Next up, we got The Incredible Hulk. I personally just really enjoyed this movie. I would say it's actually one of the more underappreciated MCU films. The Hulk action is great. The villains are great. The story is pretty cool. I actually do like Edward Norton as Bruce Banner, and he does fit the role. But though I like Mark Ruffalo way more. Next up, we got Hannah Montana the movie. Once again, I have not seen anything of Hannah Montana besides a couple episodes on Disney Plus, but that's because of my sister. But I can't really talk more about Hannah Montana the movie because that's all I can say is I own it. Then we got another movie that features 2 DVDs, as you can hear. We got Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs, but inside it's also Ice Age Continental Drift. And Ice Age, Dawn of the Dinosaurs I enjoy. Continental Drift I just don't like because it's just stupid. That's where like the franchise just got stupid as you're dealing with pirates. You have these animals traveling on an iceberg across the entire like seas, and I'm like, what the heck? And even it gets stupider once you get into like collision course as they're trying to stop an asteroid from hitting them, and it's like it's so stupid. Then we got Paranormal Activity. Once again, I have not seen any of the Paranormal Activities. I probably just own it because of my sister. And then the final film for the 2000s is The Blind Side. I just really enjoyed this movie. Sandra Bullock is great in it. This whole movie is just really heart and sweet, and it's just a little cool story, but it's also emotional at the same time. And that's every movie I own of the 2000s. Now let's get on to the 2010s. Alright, so now we are on the 2010s, and we got like 32 movies to talk about, but most of them all go by pretty fast. So, the first movie on here, Green Lantern. I own this movie. I got this for Christmas because I wanted it one time, but I haven't watched it because, well, there's just not really anything to talk about because I haven't seen it yet. But all I've heard about it was just bad things. Then we got Kung Fu Panda 2. This is my favorite DreamWorks movie of all time, as it basically just takes everything I loved about the original Kung Fu Panda and just does it better in everything it's trying to go for. From the action, the story, the characters, and the way that it dives deep more into Poe's backstory is just great. Then we got Puss in Boots, a cool little spin-off to Shrek that I thought was pretty cool. The story does carry a familiar story beat, but overall, I really enjoy Puss in Boots. Next up, we got Alvin and the Chipmunks, Shipwrecked. I thought this film was actually pretty good. And I would say this is definitely one of the better Alvin and the Chipmunks films. Probably my favorite of them, but overall, it's a pretty good film. Then we got The Avengers. Just one of the absolute best, like, films of all time. Just one of the best MCU films of all time. It does feel a little bit weird because we were getting excited because 6 superheroes were teaming up, but then you get excited for the other Avengers movies and you have bigger heroes teaming up together. So that was one thing. Now, one movie I just already talked about it, which was Ice Age Continental Drift, but I already did it. Next up, we got Interstellar. Now, in a couple of days, I'll be doing my retro movie ranking for June of 2022. If you're wondering, I have not watched Christopher Nolan Interstellar yet, but I have watched it. I haven't opened it because I watched it on Paramount Plus, and I'm not gonna say too much about it because I want you guys to hear my thoughts on it when I talk about it. But the movie overall is pretty good. Then we got Big Hero 6, a very enjoyable and really cool Disney animated film that is basically based off a Marvel comic book and does it in really cool ways. So I thought it was actually really good. Then we got the SpongeBob movie, Sponge Out of Water. The fact that you actually turn the SpongeBob characters and make them into heroes to save the secret Krabby Patty secret formula. It's pretty fun, so I enjoyed it a good bit. Then we got Avengers Age of Ultron. A bunch of stuff that happens in this movie, but at the same time, I still enjoy it. The action is great. The introduction of new characters is great. Ultron is fine, but overall the movie is pretty good, but it's not the best Avengers movie. Then we got the original Descendants. I love this movie. I love the entire franchise. R.I.P. Cameron Boyce. I love the idea that you take the kids of the characters of the Disney villains and heroes and make them into this kingdom. I thought that was really cool from Disney. So this was a clever film, and it's actually one of the better films from Disney Channel in my opinion. And as a Disney Channel film, it of course has the dancing numbers and songs and everything. Then we got Fantastic, or at least Fantastic Four 2015. To be honest with you, I understand why people don't like this movie, but at the same time, I actually do like it. Like, I remember I saw it and I was like, I actually do kind of like this movie. There's times where it feels rushed. When the characters talk and stuff, it does feel weird. But overall, I actually do enjoy it a good bit. Then we got The Lion Guard, Return of the Roar. This is basically the TV Lion King movie for the new Lion King series, The Lion Guard. I love The Lion Guard, so you already know my thoughts on that show. But this movie right here was a good little TV movie to get set up for the show, as you get the introduction of Kion, Simba's son, and all these other people with Fuli, Beshti, Ono, and Bunga. All the characters are likable. The songs are likable. I mean, the songs are great. So I think this movie is pretty good. Then we got Alvin the Chipmunks, The Road Trip. I think that this is a somewhat enjoyable film. The new side character in it was pretty cool, but there's a lot that goes on in this movie. I'm sorry, I'm tired from talking about movies, because I've talked about a lot so far. Then we got Zootopia. Just another great Disney animated film that takes a premise that is amazing. And honestly, every time I watch it, I'm just amazed by how good it is. Don't know what else to say about it. It's just really good. Then we got Captain America Civil War, one of those films that really was the inspiration of what makes me today with this whole channel. If you go watch my 2-year anniversary movie video, 2-year anniversary YouTube channel video, you'll understand why. But this movie is amazing. The way that they were able to set up so many stories, which basically fixes the problem that Age of Ultron had in making multiple stories come to life. And this movie completes that. It does it in spades. Likewise with the introduction of Black Panther and Spider-Man, this movie's amazing. Then we have Finding Dory, a pretty good sequel to the original Finding Nemo that I think does some pretty good stuff. The animation, of course, is great. The story with Dory's parents and making her as main character was great. The new characters, Hank, Destiny, Bailey, the beluga whale, I thought all of them were pretty likable, so the movie's pretty good. Then we got The Secret Life of Pets. I think that this is my favorite Illumination film. I personally just love it. I know it's kind of a ripoff of Toy Story, but I just love it so much. It's just in a very enjoyable film, and the story itself was just great. Then we got Spider-Man Homecoming. A pretty cool little addition that we actually have a Spider-Man movie now. And Vulture is one of the best MCU villains. The score from Michael Giacchino was great. The movie overall is just great and very rewatchable. Then we got Thor Ragnarok in Blu-ray Digital Ultra 4K Ultra HD. I think this movie's great. The action is great. The way that Taika Waititi reinvented the character of Thor was absolutely amazing. Valkyrie is great. Hela is great. Everything about this movie is great. And I'm very excited to see what he's going to do with Thor Love and Thunder. Then we got Wonder. One of the most relatable films for me, as it's basically about this deformed kid who has to go to school in person, and he deals with people that accept him, but also people that don't. And I think that's really relatable in a way. And you'll hear about a story for my live stream I'm doing Thursday. So this movie's actually really relatable. Plus, you have Julia Roberts and Owen Wilson in it, so it's of course great. Then we got my personal favorite movie of all time, Avengers Infinity War. one of the best movies of all time, in my opinion. Everything about this movie is great, with the great villain in Thanos. All the characters get awesome moments in the spotlight, and the fact that you actually have Thanos winning at the end is just wow. Then we got Incredibles 2. I know a lot of people were disappointed with this movie, but personally, I think this movie's great, and I actually like it more than the first film. It's just the story is a lot more understandable as you're trying to get superheroes back into the spotlight. The way that the situations that the characters are in, they're going through the entire film with the characters, and it's just a fun superhero film. The action is great. The score from Michael Giacchino is, of course, once again great, and the movie overall is just a great family film, family superhero movie. Then we got Ant-Man and the Wasp. This is a film that I at first I was like, this is better than the first Ant-Man, but at the same time, I'm like, no. It's enjoyable, though. It's really enjoyable. Ghost is a good villain, but it mostly is just a break, a fun time break after Infinity War. Then we got Christopher Robin, a pretty cool little remake of Winnie the Pooh that I think did pretty well. All the characters have sweet moments, though sometimes it does have those faults of the animated Winnie the Pooh films where the story just is kind of there because you want to see an adult Christopher Robin go through this stage of life. But it's still pretty good. Then we got Captain Marvel, a film that's actually underappreciated. I don't understand why everybody hates it so much, but I actually really enjoy it, as it kind of tells a different story as this character who has been thinking she's a Kree her whole life, and she doesn't even know her own past, but then she realizes what she's capable of, and I think that's a pretty cool story to tell with this character, especially with the new one. Also, Samuel L. Jackson as DH Nick Fury was pretty cool. Then we got my second favorite movie of all time, Avengers Endgame. This is just a phenomenal film with great action, the payoff of all 22 MCU films, and just everything about it is just amazing. And the third act is one of the best third acts in any Marvel movie ever. Then we got Toy Story 4, a movie that I know a lot of people were disappointed with. Personally, for me, I started to love it a lot more. I was mixed with it at first, but now I absolutely love it. I just think it's one of the great movies, as it does a lot of stuff, but at the same time, that's the best part. It offers a lot of stuff, and I love it, and it deserves that. Then we got the 2019 remake of The Lion King. I know a lot of people don't like this movie. I like it. It's not better than the original, though. And like I said, nothing can top the original. But at the same time, the movie is good. It's just fun. It's just cool to see the remake of Lion King. It's just cool to see the Lion King in live action. I mean, that's basically what you get, except shot for shot for shot. And even though they do some different things with it, I still really enjoyed it. It's not better than the original film, though. There are problems I have with it, as the lions can't emote, but overall, it's a pretty good movie. Next up, we got Good Boys. Another basically my super bad of the 21st century. I mean, both of them came out in the 21st century, but my bad boys of my generation. My good boys of my generation. This is just a great movie. The fact that you actually get to see Luca before he ever became Luca is just awesome. It's so hilarious. I watched this for my birthday, and I got this for my birthday, and it was just absolutely hilarious, and I was cracking up the whole time. And then the final movie here is Frozen 2. One of the absolute best Disney animated, well, not the best Disney animated movie, but it is a great sequel that I just think delivers on everything, and it's much like Toy Story 4, where it does a lot of stuff and it actually works. So I think that's the best part. And also the songs are great, all of it's great. And that concludes the 2000s, and we have one more era left, and we're finally done. Alright, so we're finally on the last section for these films, and much like the 1980s, it's actually going to be very short because I only own 3 movies from the 2000s, from the 2020s, from the 20s. So we're going to get started, and the first movie I have here is Soul. I just think that this movie is great. At first, I did like it. I did like the film. The thing is just that, like, when I first watched it, I just couldn't connect to the theme as much. But then I rewatched it with my family, and I'm like, wow, like, obviously I like the characters, I like the animation, I like the story and everything because it's familiar. But I mean, the theme for this movie is just so original that it makes it seem like the better version of Inside Out, while not exactly being the better version of Inside Out. So I still love it, and it just became like top tier Pixar for me, like that. Then we got Raya and the Last Dragon. If you don't know, if you saw my live stream from last year for my favorite movies of 2021, this is my favorite movie of 2021. Yes, and I say that because it's better than every other movie that came out before. As you know, I love the characters, I love the animation, I love the story. But the big thing that really puts the film on top is that it's really, what makes it even more special is that it's the first movie I saw when COVID happened. So that's something very special. And the last one I saw before COVID happened was Frozen 2 in the theater. So it's a great thing that I got to see this movie in theaters after COVID. And the fact that I saw the next Disney animated film in theaters was great. And the final film, and if you've seen my Instagram, you probably can tell what this movie is. Spider-Man No Way Home. And obviously I had to have this movie because it's such a great film. The movie is just a big fan. It's just a treat to all of the Spider-Man fans. It gives Peter Parker's origin story a closing as you realize that the entire trilogy was his origin story. And then likewise, I like that they use the stuff of the Peter Parker essence while not doing the same thing. But you do it in a different sense of the multiverse. As you have Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield coming in and teaching Peter Parker that lesson that he was never taught. Likewise, the villains returning were also great. They all had great little moments. Lizard and Sandman were disappointing. Everything else was pretty cool. And so I'm excited to see what they're going to do with the Spider-Man college trilogy. But overall, I just absolutely love this movie. It was one of the best 2021 movies. And that is my movie collection. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. This is like 30-minute video. So that's it for now. All my social media stuff is in the about section over there. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye. I'm gonna go get some water now and take a little break before I film my house party as well as my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 review.